All right. All right. We are live after the Blue Devils' first loss of the season, going down 82-81 to Texas Tech. And, first off, Duke does not know how to lose a game in a normal fashion. The past few losses for the Blue Devils over the past couple of years have been just brutal. Brutal losses. Before we get to the Duke side, because obviously this is a Duke podcast, so we're going to focus a lot on what Duke could have done better. I want to spend a couple of minutes certainly congratulating Texas Tech, because I thought Coach McCaslin, they were limited coming into this game due to injury. They were even more limited in this game because of foul trouble, and I thought he did a great job of calling timeouts at key moments of the game to disrupt the flow. He challenged the initial third foul call on JT Toppin, which got him a few more minutes in the game. And then I just felt like overall McCaslin was doing a good job of pulling the strings, so got to give him a lot of credit. And then my word, it was Lawan Watts in the first half taking advantage of mismatches, but in the second half, it was all Christian Anderson, and we as Duke could not do anything to contain him once he got going. It was Duke had the lead 63-51, 13 minutes or so to go, and then it felt like Duke was going to be okay. I think it was Malik Brown got the steal after a missed shot and then had an and one, which he converted. But then after that, Christian Anderson gets the and one three-pointer to go, which ends up being a 4-point play. And from then on, it was just could Duke hold on, and they obviously could not. So, JD, what are your first takeaways from the first loss of the season?
There's no question that it's the Achilles heel from the beginning that I've said that the inability to hit free throws at a Duke percentage was just horrendous. Today, 17 of 29, a 59% free throw percentage in a game that we win, lose by one. This is exactly how we're going to lose in March Madness. I'm saying it right now that if we can't figure out how to hit free throws at even a decent percentage, let alone 59%, then it's going to come down. And I've been saying this game after game, there's going to be a game where we're going to need to have hit our free throws. And here it is. I don't have to wait until March Madness. I don't have to wait until ACC play. So that has got me really, really ticked because for me, that could be the difference in the game.
Yeah, and I think if Duke would have lost this game and it was basically just Anderson going crazy from three, which is a lot of what happened late in the second half, last 10, 12 minutes, that would have been one thing. But it's combined with Duke not hitting free throws, not executing well on the offensive end, taking advantage of their size inside. There was so many possessions where it felt like down the stretch Duke was settling for threes instead of taking advantage of their bigs inside. I didn't think we did a good job of getting the ball to Gangba. And I think the worst part of losing this game is Duke actually got really good performances off the bench. It was Malik Brown's best game of the season, and unfortunately, there's no medals in a game that we lose, but he would have been the gold medal. He was just phenomenal in this game. Dame Sarr, we're like, where's he been? Can we get anything from Dame Sarr? Tremendous first half. Hit a couple of threes, played some good defense. He was really good. Darren Harris hit a couple of shots. He played well, I thought, in the first half especially. And Caden Boozer had moments in both halves, and down the stretch. I mean, he hits the runner. He hits the three from the corner. I think that's honestly the worst part about this is I can't sit here and just be – I am really happy for those guys, and I do think big picture it's a real positive moving forward. But the bench played really well today, and it's unfortunate I can't give a bunch of those guys, medals after this one because they did their jobs.
Let's go. I also think that Boozer didn't. Well, Boozer's defense was just poor,
Yes.
just poor today. And in fact, we debated whether if they won, we were going to give him a medal at all because of how bad his defense was. Um, I also don't. So Boozer not playing a complete game, and I don't know that we've seen that yet. We've seen him be absent for 10 minutes and then come alive in the second half. Um, I just we had 10-point leads, 12-point leads, and they how many runs did they go on in this game? And I thought at least once I was sitting there and I wanted Coach Shire to call a timeout, and we let the lead go from 6 to 4 to 2 when he finally calls a timeout. Then we responded very well from the timeout. Now, you made that point that a lot of that is letting the players figure out how to stop it in case they're in a set of circumstances where they don't have a timeout. It's a really good point, Jack, but it's like, boy, did we lose this game in so many different ways as opposed to not as opposed to it's a very gutty performance by Texas Tech.
Yeah, yeah. If I'm a Texas Tech fan, and I'm sure maybe a few of you guys have creeped in here, I'm feeling great right now. Like that was you. You've had three previous opportunities against top 25 teams, and I mean, the Illinois game was close. Purdue game was not close at all. Arkansas was close for the most part, and then it kind of stretched out late. This was just a real gritty win by the Red Raiders, and we got to give them credit. And it's one of those tricky things where you got to give Texas Tech credit, and at the same time, I mean, the easiest thing to point out is what JD started with, which is the free throw shooting. When you shoot 59% from the free throw line, we'll get to the stats in a bit. How many did they miss? You probably have that.
12.
You missed 12. If you shoot 70%, you win the game. You know, that's not even, I know you've been asking for 80%, 70% wins the game. So, you know, that's frustrating. You mentioned the timeouts. You know, I do think Shire's trying to get them ready, but if you go to the two key timeouts, which he called, I thought he could have called it after Texas Tech started up 7-0. He waited till it was 9-0.
He waited too long. He definitely did.
And then, as you pointed out, when it got to the 2-point lead, when it was 63-61, that could have been called a little bit earlier. There are a few moments throughout the game where Duke executes better, a couple of decisions, a couple of free throws, a better start to the game.
I mean, I did not expect being in Cameron North. So let me just say, we like to admit when we got it wrong. I got it completely wrong. We were in Cameron North. That should have given us an advantage. We had a horrible half against Lipscomb. We should have been able to say we're going to get off to a good start. And we look up and we're down 9-0.
Yes. And I thought, now, I thought we could do a good job guarding LaJuan Watts with Cam Boozer. And LaJuan Watts did a really good job taking advantage of when we would switch. He would take the smaller guy into the post and score on them. He got 10 to 12 of his points that way. But the thing I really got wrong is I thought Cam Boozer could do a good job guarding him. Cam Boozer he didn't guard anybody in this game, really. He did it. The one thing I will credit him for, and they did a lot of this late, was they would pre-switch and make sure that Cam was on JT Toppin so he could limit Toppin's offensive rebounding. And I thought Cam's rebounding was good, but defensively there's too many times where he got beat. Somebody was able to get around him. It was just, for as good as he was offensively, he gave up a lot of those points defensively, and I'm sure for as great of a player as he is, he's feeling that right now. The thing that frustrated me the most, though, was the one advantage I knew we had, and they went to it a couple of plays in a row and didn't go back to it the rest of the game, was when Gangba would be matched up with LaJuan Watts. Watts could not guard Gangba in the post, and we couldn't get the ball to him there consistently. And that was a big advantage we had, and it led to a lot of three-pointers, which in the first half, the first 25-ish minutes, we were getting some good open ones. And then as the game went on, those were less and less open. And I think some of it was, for example, Jimena started to hesitate. When he would be open, he wasn't shooting them until there's like one with like 3 minutes to go or so. And he did take it, but he was wide open and out of rhythm. It was not his best game after starting off with actually our first 5 points. It was, I mean, overall the starters had spurts, but our bench played much better than the starters did in this game, which has not been the case for the first 10 games, well, 11 games, I should say. So, in some ways, there are not in some ways. There are definitely some positives that Duke can take from this game, and I know that sounds crazy to say in a game where Duke should have won this game. They should have won this game.
We're certainly not going to sit here and say, despite some times where what's taking the refs so long, did they get that call right? We did not lose this game because of the refs.
No, and again, credit to Texas Tech, because a lot of teams in that situation do not win this game. And a lot of credit to Texas Tech, and a lot of credit to Christian Anderson for putting the team on his back and hitting a lot of tough shots. I mean, the three he hit over Gangba was remarkable. Gangba did a pretty good job as a big guy contesting that one, and that was a tremendous shot. Him getting himself to the free throw line at the end of the game. This is not a game where I'm going to complain about calls.
Nope.
This is, and I'm trying to do this in a way where I'm not taking away from what Texas Tech did, but there was a lot of opportunities for Duke where I don't know about you guys, but where I'd be sitting there and being like, Duke's only up by 10. It feels like they should be up by 15. Duke's only up by 8. It should be 12, and going back to the free throws, that was certainly part of it. And then the decision making and shot selection offensively, I think, hurt us. And then one more thing I really got to credit Anderson for was he did a really good job of making an adjustment, because what was happening was Brown was starting off on Watts or Toppin, and then when they'd run the pick and roll, then it would be Brown on Anderson where he had no advantage. And he started to either call up different people to set the screen or go with no screen. And we couldn't get our best defender, Malik Brown, onto their best offensive player. So it's a rough loss. Now, in the grand scheme of things, if you would have told me on November 1st that we're going to get through the first 12 games and be 11-1, I would have signed up for that 10 times out of 10. Don't get me wrong. But the way that Duke lost this game, that hurts. It just hurts.
It hurts, and I think when we see the AP rankings on Monday, I think between the first half of the Lipscomb game and then this loss, which we had ample opportunities to win, and it showed us a bunch of things, I think we're going to see Duke drop at least 5 spots.
Oh, I'm gonna name some teams off the top of my head. I'm not even gonna bother going to look at it. But off the top of my head, certainly Iowa State passes us. UConn, BYU, Houston, and I think also Purdue. Oh, but let's throw Gonzaga in there. So I could see us moving to 10. I could see us moving to 10 after this. And to your point, it's a combination of how we looked against Lipscomb, even though we won by 24, and then how we lost this game to a very depleted Texas Tech team. So
they had no one else left to play on the court at that point. And the execution of their point guard, Anderson, how he directed the offense to get him the shot that he wanted to. Hats off to a really fine performance there in the second half.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got the Lawan Watts thing wrong, but I did say Christian Anderson was probably going to be the best point guard that Duke has played, best guard Duke has played this year. And the first half, it looked like I was completely wrong about that, but the second half, he just commanded the game. And then the thing he did, which Jeremy Fears could not, was hit a bunch of shots. Just a little jab there, having a little fun. All right, we'll go to the stats, then we'll hit up the chat here. So, stats, I mean, look, if you looked at the box score, you didn't watch the game. Hold on. Let's get a little refresh here because there's still. There we go. If you didn't watch the game, you looked at the box score, you'd say, wow, Cameron Boozer almost had a triple double 23 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. And you would say he had a good defensive game. He had a couple of steals and a block. But the 4 turnovers, part of the decision making, and he just got beat way too often defensively. Like I would imagine he gave up 15 to 18 points on defense.
Well, and especially having committed only one personal foul, you would have expected a little bit more aggression on defense. 3 fouls, 4 fouls, and then you're disrupting their flow, and he just wasn't doing it. And so, despite his offensive line, it's sort of like how you have to analyze both ends of the court and what he's giving you.
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness, we said we're not blaming this on the refs. I would actually say there's definitely one time that I clearly remember where he jumped into Watts and it could have been an and one that wasn't called. So that he could have had 2 fouls. But I think the thing that screams at me when I first look at the box score here is Patrick Gangba, 1 field goal attempt in 21 minutes in a game in which he had a tremendous size advantage. Some of that's on him for not, posting up. Some of that's on the coaching staff, and some of that's on our guards. There's a blame pie chart to go around there, but Patrick Gangba cannot get one shot in a game in which Texas Tech is playing with 1 big or no bigs for stretches of this game. That is just a major problem. He did get 4 assists, good for him, but we just got to get him the ball more in the post. Himenia finished with 8 points. He knocked down a pair of threes. No rebounds for Himenia. He was playing a lot more in the perimeter. He didn't feel his impact in this one. He scored early, but it wasn't his game.
Scraping the wooden floor. He just wasn't doing that in this game.
Yeah, I didn't feel the hustle from him. I'm with you. Evans, 4 points, 5 rebounds, and assists, a couple turnovers. He had a tough turnover late. He did respond. I give him credit for that. When it was 63-61, he had the 4 points. His only 4 points were right after that stretch and a key rebound. But just
that in 30 minutes.
Yes, in 30 minutes. But not a good game from Slim. Foster hit a pair of threes. I thought he was okay. I thought at times he played pretty good defense. In fairness to him, like Anderson, a decent amount of his points were off of switches. So it wasn't a lot of it was on him. Unfortunately, though, for Foster, he's the one who fouled him on the and 1-3, and he is the one who fouled him at the end of the game. But this is not Caleb. The reason we lost this game is not Caleb Foster, but he did go 0 for 2 on his 2 free throws. Now, Duke got the ball back after that and was able to score, so it's not cut and dry, but he was part of the free throw problem in this game. Now, the bench. These guys played great. Malik Brown had his best game of the season, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 5 steals, and many other deflections, and a block. I'm most disappointed for him because this should have been a post-game show where we celebrated Malik Brown. And we'll do a little bit of that in the chat, but it's hard to do that when Duke loses in the way that they did. Dame Sarr would have been getting a lot of love as well. He had a great flurry in the first half, 9 points, 3 rebounds for Dame. Really important for him, and hopefully a sign that he can contribute more moving forward. And speaking of, Caden Boozer had 13 points. At times was he part of the problem defensively? Yes, but at the same time, he did force Anderson to turn the ball over late in the game. Had a good defensive stand there. So, and then he hit key buckets down the stretch. This was a major step forward for Caden Boozer. And Darren Harris, I thought, had some good minutes off the bench. 5 points for him. Knocked down one of 2 threes, both of his free throws. One of the few guys who knocked down a couple of free throws who didn't miss in this one. So, a tough Duke loss, but I do think individually there's some positives moving forward. But to your point from earlier, these are, decision making and free throw shooting are what certainly can cost us and cost us in this game against Texas Tech. Any thoughts before we head to the chat?
I'm just looking at the total number of blocks by Duke, and in a game where we outsized them by a lot, and especially when they got in foul trouble, we have a total of 2 blocks. One, a terrific one by Malik Brown, and then they credited Cameron with
He had one
early, and it's not that I'm looking for 10 blocks, but 2 to me seems like part of a pattern of a lack of aggression and a lack of desire. And when you go down 9-0 in the beginning of the game, let's just stop that. I mean, I was happy the first segment of the second half because it wasn't great, but we did win it 12-8.
I did think Foster got a block on Petty, which he wasn't credited for, but it doesn't really matter. I get your point there. And especially so considering they shot 22 threes. It's not like they shot 35 threes. Like they were going into the 2, they're shooting mid-range. We weren't helping on Watts, which I understand we didn't want to give up a 3, but he was really taking advantage of the mismatches that kept them in the game until Anderson took over. So just a lot of things. I mean, Duke lost this game by 1 point. But there's just a lot of things that Duke could have done better. And credit to Christian Anderson and the Red Raiders for hanging in there.
Let's go to the chat. I'm sure there's a lot of opinions about this one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Mr. Moore, by the way, Mr. Moore said this one could be a problem, and you were right. This Duke team is ridiculously frustrating. Just when I felt like I can relax, they go lose big leads multiple times. What is it with them? Effort, complacency, or was Texas Tech just good? Texas Tech was certainly gritty. We completely agree with you on the relaxed part. I felt relaxed for 30 minutes of this game. I felt more relaxed in this game than the Lipscomb game until the final 12 minutes when I felt like I couldn't breathe again. I don't know what it is. The one thing I wonder is this time of year. We're in December. We've had a 10-day break. We're going to have another 10-day break. It seems like we've lost the momentum we had from the Arkansas, Florida, Michigan State part of the season, and it may take some time for us to get it back.
I'm not entirely going to agree on that. We're heading to Madison Square Garden this time of year. We should have been up for this game, and so if you're suggesting that, then I'm going to put some of that on the coaches.
Yeah, I agree. ACBC, what's going on? We lost because we can't hit our free throws. It finally got to us. The commentator said 50% plus. Duke beat Duke today, imploding. Our offense is also really bad, and Nick can't hit a 3. I mean, the free throw shooting, yeah, and I think just the decision-making offensively was tough because of our advantages, our clear advantages inside. Laura, what's going on? I need my heart rate to calm down. Honestly, I would have rather lose by a blowout than a close loss. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Duke just seems to find a way to lose these types of games consistently, and it is brutal. It just is.
Laura, this is the blueprint for how we will lose in March Madness if we don't fix, and I don't know how we do it at this point of the year, our free throw shooting. And this was true earlier in the game, straight up to the end of the game. Boozer had a chance, I think 2 chances, and he missed free throws. He's got to finish those. He's got to finish those. If you want to win and go deep in the tournament, otherwise you just saw how we're going to lose.
Bring the mic in next time so people can hear you. All right, GMAD, what's going on? Ridiculous series of events, incredibly bad reffing, and we shot free throws horribly again. I mean, the only thing that was bad about the reffing was the length of time on the reviews, but the refs certainly didn't cost us this game. That's for sure. ACBC, I'll take 11-1. Can't win every single game. We're bound to lose. Agreed the refs were very questionable. Yeah, I'll take 11-1 as well. It's just, as I said before, how we got there is tough.
Right. If we had lost this game by 10, if we had lost this game, I can't take losing this game by 1 when we shoot this badly from the free throw line. So, yes, 11-1 is great. We should have been 12-0.
Should have been 12-0. GMAD. Well, the problem is Duke was clearly the better team throughout the game by quite a bit, but still ended up losing. And yeah, I mean, Duke was the better team. I agree with that. And Duke couldn't capitalize on the advantages that they had, and it let Anderson take over. So, credit to him. Laura says, I know you learn more from a loss than a win. It still sucks. Foster will beat himself up for getting that foul. Yeah, and I think a lot of guys, I mean, quite frankly, the starting 5, I think, is going to have a tough night sleeping. Starting with Cameron Boozer, who's our best player, and the stats were kind of similar to Lipscomb, where if you looked at the box score, you'd say he had a good game. But if you watch the game, there's a lot of questions about his performance in this one, and I think it starts with him. ACBC Brown was the best player today, certainly for Duke. I think by the end of the game, Christian Anderson was the best player on the floor. Let's see. Grateful we have him, yes. Well, good for GMAT says good for Caden Boozer.
That was a clutch shot. That was great.
Sinking that 3 towards the end, though, yeah, agreed. That's when I feel like there are individual positives that can move forward. ACBC, we had far too many close wins. We're bound to get a close loss. Great point. Great point. We were living on a knife's edge for too long here, and it caught up with us. It did. Anthony Ingram, what's going on? Free throws. Yeah.
Preaching to the choir on that one.
GMAT. Yeah, good for Texas Tech too, fighting to the end and managing to win even when they shouldn't. Yeah, I mean, right. Laura Markle, they can use the break they have to refocus before conference play begins. And Shire's got to get this one right because the team, where this team was against Michigan State and where they've been the last 2 games, they're just night and day. It's just a big difference in how they're playing. So they've got to figure out how to get the cohesion back that they were playing with then while incorporating these guys off the bench. And I think if they can figure out those 2 things, they'll be all right. Jeremy Farrell, what's going on? Cameron Boozer needs to practice his free throws. And how do you lose a big lead and it hurts to lose by 1 point?
We lost multiple big leads. I mean, we came back. We felt all comfortable watching this game. And it's not like it happened once. We allowed them to go on runs several times, and we wind up losing by 1 point, which you could look at it from that point of view to say it was only a 1 point loss. We didn't get blown out by them, but I was expecting us to go up to Cameron North and win by 20. And it looked like that was going to happen.
Yeah, it did. It did. I think that's the worst part. It's kind of shocking in the way that Duke lost this game. It is shocking. Just all the advantages that they had. Techman Dave, I can't watch this team no more. It's always in Duke culture to just relax. They're always relaxing when they feel like they're going to win. Yeah, I mean, the last two Duke losses have been brutal. Not as bad as the last. You guys know the one I'm talking about, considering the circumstances. But boy, this was tough. I need to get a tissue. You got to take over. I'll be back.
All right. Who we have? G Mad. I mean, we closed at least 12. We missed at least 12 free throws. Free throws have been inexcusable all season. It was inevitable it would kill us in one of these. Been talking about it all year. We missed some front ends of the one-on-one, even hurts more. Jeremy Farrell, Christian Anderson, that's a bad boy. Man, that second half of his was just textbook on how you run the offense and set it up so that and he just had it going. GMAT, Anderson had no business making some of those shots, including the one he threw up and missed and got rebounded at the end. You're right, except that he did. And I thought even the one he took over Gangba, he had to change the whole arc of the shot, and he hit that one. So
where are we at? Where are we at here?
We're up to Techman Dave there.
Thanks for holding down the fort. All right. It's not about them losing. It's how they lost. John knows better than this. Free throws and coaching, 100%. GMAD, at least 3 of Texas Tech's points were off technical flagrant fouls, 2 actually. Yeah, the challenge by McCaslin to take away the third foul on Toppin and turn it into a flagrant. I think he went 1 for 2, and then the technical on Dame. That's the one. That's the one where I don't know if he said what he said. Obviously, we don't know, but it didn't seem like much from what they showed us. But I don't know. Duke had so many opportunities to win this game. ACBC, our starting lineup played really badly today. Our bench was far, far better. Nick, Evans, Pat, Cam were poor by their standards. Agreed.
One of the things about the bench was so much better. It was almost like they brought Malik Brown in first guy off the bench, and then it was like a line change in hockey. They brought in Harris. They brought in
Caden and Dame.
He was so not happy with the effort of the starting 5.
Yeah. GMAT disagrees. I wouldn't say that. Jimenez scored a few early points, and Pat and Cam were good. Foster had a decent game too, though Cam and Foster missed free throws. Yeah, I mean, Pat I thought was fine. We just didn't get him the ball enough. Cam offensively was good, although there was a couple of decisions I didn't love. But defensively, I thought where Cam was not good. And then with Jimenez, as you pointed out, the hustle from him that we've become so accustomed to wasn't there to the same extent, certainly, in this game. Yeah, we got that one. Techman Dave, Isaiah Evans needs to be on the bench. Like, you have to do more than take 3-pointers. And Caleb with those stupid fouls. Oh, I don't know what's going on. I need to blow my nose.
ABC Slash, their offense was bad. Well, it was and it wasn't, in the sense that we kept building up leads. We kept building up a 10-point lead, a 12-point lead. It looked like we were on our way to a 20-point lead, and then we found a way to lose the lead. So, the offense was bad. They had 82 points, maybe not as much, but we gave up by far the most points that we've given up this season.
Great point. And it's not like the Lipscomb game where our offense hurt our defense. We could not guard them in the second half, especially. Um, it was just by far and away the worst defensive performance that we've had this season. Let's see. Duke Hoops, what's going on? Can't fucking rely. I don't know if I should have done that, but hopefully YouTube doesn't demonetize us for that. On Booze and Pat to save us on the glass. Everyone's responsible for crashing. That's a good point because I think the most frustrating part to me was late in the game, their guards were getting offensive rebounds against us. And that just can't happen. It's one thing when Florida's bigs or Michigan State's bigs are getting offensive rebounds, but that was brutal. Laura, do you think the emotion from the last game of Shire's 100th win may have played into how they played today? I would say no.
Of course, it could have been a possible part of the letdown, but watching the game, I don't think so, because the number of times that we did build back the lead, maybe in the beginning of the game when we went down 9-0, you could say that they had a letdown, but after that we just kept building up a lead and losing it.
Anthony Ingram. Also, a lot of those free throws were 1-1, which makes it even worse. Completely agree. ACBC. Hopefully we didn't peak too early. Time for conference play now. Yeah, it's a good point. We want to be playing our best basketball in March, not in December. So hopefully we can right the ship here as we move on. Read Joe M's.
I really wish we could hit free throws. That cost us the game. Quiet game from Evans and Pat too. Great game, Sar. Though great game from Sar in the first half. Really, very, very important. It looked like he got us, but then if he hit 3 in the first half, he did miss 3 in the second half, and the free throws. I would say, Jack, 60% of the comments tonight are about the free throws.
And how could they not be? That's what causes the game. GMAT says not a lot of the free throws, but a few were. Evans missed the front end of a 1-1. He's our best free throw shooter far and away. As you said live, that was a sign of things are not going our way in this one. ACBC, we have the same record as UNC now, and they got a gift at the end of their game. The ball falls in Vesar's lap, and he's able to pick it up and dunk it. We have the opposite thing happen. Kentucky wins today. It's a bad day for us Duke fans. Techman Dave, we shooting threes, and JT got 4 fouls. Big Pat has to give us more on offense too. Yeah, it's my frustration from this game. We didn't attack more inside. We were settling for too many threes. Joe M, I didn't expect for us to go undefeated in the non-conference before the season started, but after how they started, I expected them to win this game.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
Not sure about that last foul against Foster in the last 18 seconds either. Thought it was pretty bad. Same with the flagrant against Pat. Yeah, I understand where you guys are questioning these calls from. I understand the Toppin one. I also understand the Foster one, but I can't sit here and say that's what cost us this game. As we've all gone through the free throws and the decision making and coaching, quite frankly, I thought McCaslin did a better job than Shire in this game. So I think that's what cost us for sure. Yeah. Let's see. Let's try to pick out a couple here. GMAT says, honestly, beating Lipscomb by 20 kind of looks worse than losing to Texas Tech by 1, though. I guess Texas Tech hadn't beat a top 25 ranked team until tonight, so yeah. Um, Techman Dave, we stopped giving it to Cam in the post period. John lost this game. Period. Yeah, we didn't give the ball to Gangba in the post.
He finished with 2 shots, 1 shot, and that can't be in this particular matchup. It just can't be.
Let's see. Scroll down too far.
I think you're up to Lawrence.
Yes, Lawrence. How's it going, Lawrence? Malik has to make that breakaway layup.
Oh.
That was a key momentum play. Not to mention Nick's blown box out. That's on Sports Center. Yeah.
There is absolutely a collection of things where it just shouldn't happen. Malik seemed to have had a breakaway layup and then he missed it. Although he also came back on that really good play when what was it, a steal or a block?
That was before that had happened.
Yeah, and then scored the layup. So we're going to have to say the two canceled each other out.
Yeah, tough. Not a good moment for Malik, but he had a fantastic game.
Great game.
ACBC is disappointed with Evans. Yeah, it was not a good game for Evans. Timothy Bullock says Duke is not dropping 7 points for a 1-point loss to a top 20 team. Hello, overreactions. It's not just a loss in this game. And they were, I don't know if they were still going to be a top 20 team after this week. Considering, I know, the Arkansas game was last week, but it's the combination of the Lipscomb win, which we were very shaky in, and you got to consider all the circumstances with this Texas Tech team. Missing their starting center, both their front court players in foul trouble. One of them fouls out. And it's not necessarily that Duke, you got to look at the landscape in college basketball. There's a lot of really good teams, and there's not a lot of separation between them. And a lot of those teams have picked up big wins. Houston had a big win over Arkansas. BYU hasn't had a big win, but they're just continuing to do what they've been doing. And Duke's wins, have all been close wins. We don't have those big blowout wins like Arizona and Michigan, who, if we had those in our past, I think it'd be easier for me to sit here and say that, we're going to sit in the top 5. But because our wins have been closer, I think it's hard to make that argument.
We'll know on Monday. I mean, we could debate this all we want. And I think, Jack and I are of the opinion that this isn't the way the number 3 team in the country should be performing.
Yeah. Let's see. Techman Dave agrees. ACBC says we land at 7 or 8. Techman says Big Pat one shot is crazy. Agreed. Techman Dave says he's sick of Foster. I'm done with this guy. That's too far. I think Foster's won us a couple of games this year, so I'm still riding with Foster. GMAT, Duke looked a lot worse in the Lipscomb game. Certainly didn't look like a top 5 team. If Anderson goes crazy hitting threes late, that's not a big rankings deal. I agree. I think if it's just Anderson going late, hitting a bunch of threes late, I think it's not as big of a deal. It's the combination of him doing that and Duke not executing well, and as we've mentioned ad nauseum, missing a bunch of free throws.
And he only had 2 points at the first half, and we only had a 10-point lead. So I'm not certain that it's just him going crazy with the threes. I think there's a lot of things that were going on tonight.
ACBC says Anderson almost went to Michigan. That would be a scary team. That would be a very scary team.
Wow.
Timothy Bullock says, I would definitely agree that Shire should not have stopped going inside. Duke plays a gimmicky offense with Boozer and Gangba dishing out, but all but 2 of the assists in the first half. ACBC, we don't have a mid-range game. True. GMAD, I thought Caden was okay on defense tonight. Mostly when he was getting beaten, it was getting bullied by the bigger Watts, who's doing the same to everyone. Agreed. Let's see. I'm trying to find some new thoughts in here. Lawrence Freeman, what about Dame getting benched for the Tech in the second half? Yeah, he only played 3 minutes in the second half, and I'm with you. I think he should have played more with how well he was playing. I'm I don't know if we'll never get an answer on that, but I'm curious as to what the reasoning why he played such few minutes. GMAT says there's a real problem though. At this point, there's an easy formula to beat Duke. Just foul them.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's funny because JD said before this game we could do hack a toppin. You could just do a hack a Duke at this point. You probably have a decent result. Let's see. GMAT says, I don't feel we lost momentum. We had some really big wins, but they were all close games. We beat Florida by 1 at home. Eventually, we were going to lose a game by 1. Arguably, the top 4 ranking we're about to lose was premature. The reason I say we lost momentum is how we're playing. We had 22 turnovers against Lipscomb. And while we didn't turn the ball over a lot in this one, it was our worst defensive performance. So I think our decision making and our defense have slipped. I think if we lose this game and Texas Tech, Anderson plays really well like he did, I don't think I'd be sitting here saying we lost momentum. I think I'd be just crediting Texas Tech in Anderson. But it's how Duke lost the game with the free throw shooting and decision making, which is where, in the defense, quite frankly, which is where I come to the conclusion that I think we've taken a little bit of a step back these past 2 games. Anything?
I think we'll find out when, the first game is New Year's Eve, G-Tech. Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting to see how Coach Shire preps them for. Look, Georgia Tech isn't a great team, but honestly, how great was Texas Tech given the foul trouble they had to navigate through the whole game and the injuries that they had going into the game? So I want to see a difference in preparation for league play.
Lawrence Freeman says, I really don't think we lose this game if Coach doesn't put Dame in the doghouse. It's a very good point because Dame was doing a good job on Anderson in the first half. With his length, he was more disruptive, and I think that could have helped, especially with the way he was at least willing to take the open threes. He missed, a couple of threes, but he only played 3 minutes in the second half, so I think he should have got more of a run. Duke Hoop says, don't turn your back on C. Foss when he's had a solid season up to this point. Mayor Baltimore, free throws, shocking. All they had to do was give the ball to Boozer every time. They had a walk-on freshman guard guarding him. That is the frustration for sure in this one. Lawrence Freeman, why is a dirty play technical by Pat Judge more likely than a cursing at someone because they cursed at you technical when doing so hurt the team? Do you understand what he's saying?
Well, I think he's saying that you gave him for the hook and hold that pulled him down.
Yeah.
that they're saying that that was more harsh in the sense as it's a level one um, of the of the kind of fouls you can have, of the kind of
No.
intentional versus the fact that it's just a T for the maybe drawing at the bench.
Yeah, I thought Pat was rightfully caught, on that.
It really depended on the camera angle. It looked like they were both falling over, and then Pat pulled them down, and so yes, it looked like they were going to give him a level one, and then on the other one, I honestly don't know what was said. I don't know.
Yeah, and to GMAD's point, I mean, Toppin was on the bench, and Texas Tech was outscoring us without him, which is a large part of the problem. Mayor Baltimore, they took their foot off the gas.
Multiple times.
Merry Christmas, Laura Markle. Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays. We will see you guys on New Year's Eve, so I'll save Happy New Year for then. Hopefully it'll be a much happier occasion. Let's see. Duke Hoop says, I love the victories going down to the wire. Literally what builds grit and mental toughness. Shire is scheduled to get beat up and sharpened. It's a good point. I'm glad we're having these types of games, and it's probably good to get a loss like this, hopefully out of the way now. But I think, as everyone said, the big thing that's got to be worked on, besides the defense and the decision making, is between now and New Year's Eve. Get these guys in the gym. Just have them shoot free throws.
Or it's something else, because even if you practice in the gym, and I would love to know what Caleb Foster shoots in the gym during practice versus on the court at game time and down the stretch, because it's completely different sets of circumstances practicing in the gym in order to improve upon your stroke. Caleb Foster's stroke is beautiful until he gets to the free throw line. And and the fact that Isaiah Evans misses the first end. He's an 86% free throw shooter. Then he comes back and hits the next two. But look, we said from the beginning we're going to lose 4 or 5 games. And so in the pre-conference,
non-conference.
Okay, non-conference. Here's the loss, and it's just the way we lost. It's not that we would have written a script that said we're going to win 12 games. It's just the way we lost this particular game.
Yeah. Laura says, too bad Spencer Hubbard didn't have another season. He would have won the game for us. We miss Spencer. We do miss him. GMAD, and I should have said this about 50 minutes ago, but if you guys are on here, subscribe to the channel, like this video.
We've done it again.
We appreciate you guys joining us after this loss. It's good to have us as a community. We get together. We talk about what went wrong, what positives we can take from it, and as GMAD's saying, what can we learn from this loss? I really don't know. We know we have some good bench potential at least. Maybe John can find some coachable defensive points. That, I think, I think the bench is the real positive we can take from this. And it's the one negative though is that we're now 12 games in. How you would think you've kind of settled on a rotation, but with the way guys play today, like, do you open that up a little bit more in the Georgia Tech game for guys to get more playing time? Duke Hoops, Merry Christmas. Laura, thanks for keeping up the spirits after this type of defeat. Merry Christmas to you, Duke Hoops. ACBC, I think it would be interesting to put Darren Harris over Nick as a starter. Don't mind that experiment one bit. Really like Darren today. Merry Christmas to the best Duke channel out there. Merry Christmas to you, ACBC.
Thank you much.
Hope everyone enjoys their Christmas. Has a white Christmas. We've lost our snow up here in New York. Hopefully it comes back. Michael Bakhtiar. Hi all. I need to calm down from the bar. Good for you. Props to the energy that Texas Tech brought the entire game. Gotta acknowledge them. I felt our team coasted at times, which may have led to weak free throws. I think that's a very good, way to bring us back to a lot of credit to Texas Tech. 19 out of 20 teams fold in the situation that they're in. So I think that's going to be a win that springboards them moving forward. And they had kind of underperformed. They're a preseason top 10 team, top 15 team, certainly. So, this could be something that helps them. And they were missing guys. So they should be better. They were Elite 8 team last year. They have some new parts, but, they almost beat Florida, quite frankly. So they're a good program. Jeremy Farrell, Merry Christmas to the Duke boys, to everybody. Merry Christmas to you. GMAD, it made me feel a little better about the loss knowing we could chat about it here afterwards. Yeah, I feel a little bit better now myself too. When the game first ended, I wanted to just be depressed and sit alone, but knew I couldn't do that with you guys. So I think, it's a good venting session, got it all out there. And where I like to be on these is, look, it's a non-conference loss. It really should. It may hurt us in the polls, but it really shouldn't hurt us in seeding when we get to March. And it's something that we can use because I think a few of you guys made this point. We've won a lot of close games, but you don't learn as much from the close wins as you do from a close loss. So I think this could be good for us moving forward. Laura says it's time for Shire to call them out on their missed free throws. Agreed. I'm very curious what he says in the postgame press conference. I'm looking forward to that one. And Texas Tech did better on the basketball court than on the football field. How'd they do in football? I have no idea. We don't watch a ton of college football. JD watches Ohio State because that is where my sister,
My daughter.
yes, went to school. But other than that, not a ton of football watching going on here. They play today? They probably didn't play today. I have no idea what's going on there. But that being said, we'll be back in probably about a week for the Georgia Tech preview. We're finally getting into conference play, so that's exciting. I'm going to be talking with a couple other guys in between, so should have something in between before that, just talking about Duke's non-conference play. So be on the lookout for that. Until then, guys, Merry Christmas to all, and we'll see you guys soon.
And most
Peace.
importantly, peace.
All right. I could not breathe.
What was going on?
That was Texas A&M. She's got that wrong. I don't know. My nose just started running.